Today, part of our panel will be having Peter Lewton, who, after moving from being a principal dancer with eminent ballet companies, he retrained as a dance instructor and educator, as well as an osteopath. Peter is an immediate and past president of the International Association of Dance, Medicine and Science, using dancing, osteopathic and academic experience to transform the outreach, communication and dissemination of knowledge. He has done so much in terms of studying and just using dance for good. Peter, it's amazing to have you on the panel today. How are you doing?
Great pleasure and honor to be participating in the Hamwe Festival, and I just want to thank you all and all the organizers for that.
Right. Well, with us today is Tripura Kashyap, who is the pioneer of creative movement therapy in India in 1990. She started movement therapy at Hancock Center in the US and has a BA in English literature as well as an MA in psychology. And she's worked as a movement therapist at halfway homes, special homes, treatment rehabilitation centers, senior citizens facilities with individual clients for over 10 years. She has also trained in jazz, ballet, modern dance, choreography, dance theater, and so much more. Today, we're in the presence of royalty, for sure. Well, her bio goes on, but in the interest of time, we will be getting to meet our third panelist. Well, it's good to have you with us, Tripura. Are you there? Can you hear us?
Good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, look forward to this panel with a lot of excitement.
Yes, well, I'm looking forward to getting into it. And last but definitely not least, a son of my land, we do have Basomingera Sioni, who was born and raised in Rwanda. He grew up and was curious to change the world. Very strong words there. Well, he says that everything changed when he encountered dance, and he loves dancing and has loved dancing ever since. He started to realize how his body movement can speak to the world. He graduated high school and he wanted to pursue dancing from the onset and become a professional. He has participated in a number of festivals, including performing at Masozera, performing arts, as well as quite a number of other festivals. And well, he believes in dance as a universal language. In his words, he says, everyone can receive a message from his or her body movement. Definitely want to get into understanding a little bit about that, but it's good to have you on the panel today.
Thank you.
All right. Gentlemen and lady, I want to start this conversation by all of you taking a turn to just help us understand your definition or your view on the intersection between dance and health. And I would like to start with you, Tripura.
Well, thank you so much. It's a great opportunity to be here. I just thank UGHE to give us this platform to come to discuss about health and dance. So interconnection between dance and health is actually when we dance, the body move, and we use like body engaged, and we also engage our soul, we also engage our emotion. So interconnection between dance and health. It's dancing for me, it's life. It's not just a movement, it's not just dancing or kind of the other thing that you do. So that's interconnection between dancing and health. And when we're dancing, it's physical, it's a spiritual, it's a social, like the interconnection between dance and health. It's how like we also combine those things in one thing and we move together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would also like to invite the panelists to weigh in and just give us your thoughts on that. But I would like to also introduce our fourth panelist. I think we have her. Monica Ray, who is an Italian dance and movement therapist, the vice president of APID, and the deputy for Italy, and member of Childhood and Learning Disorders Study Group. She is a member of the Embodiment Resilience Study Group as well, works with elderly people in Italian social care system and with children in schools. And she's a member of the Italian Association operating in Italy and Nepal and Pakistan with the aim to empower and facilitate mountain inhabitants. It's good to have you, Ray, with us. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much for being here. I'm so happy to join such an international group. It's a really great opportunity. Thank you.
Ray, I want to come to you and understand your definition and understanding of the interconnection between dance and arts, dance and health, beg your pardon.
Yes, I found a strong connection during pandemic. Of course, before already I knew the connection, but this new world through pandemic helped me to really understand what arts can do and dance can do for health. So during the first lockdown in Italy, I was inspired by a drawing that I received from a friend, and describing a fat dancer in a glass tube. And this friend was telling me, I feel so bad, so anxious, and I tried to understand what I could do. And so I proposed to start dancing and doing my DMT workshop online. And as I felt that we all were living in a special new world, not only for the lockdown, but I made some connection with some jobs I did with women in jail. And I felt the same illnesses that I met when I was working with these women. And so I felt such an incarceration syndrome and traumatic stress disorders that were linked with a new situation of no time and space. There were no more movement. There were so a state of hypokinesis. So I wanted to start working on those diseases, and I really proposed some programs with elderly and children. And I was proposing it with playing. I thought that playing was the possibility to connect people dancing, and I really felt that there's something very important in giving the possibility to find a space, a special space from reality and imagination, and to help getting out emotions. So this dancing online, this new way of dancing, because everything was new last year, in the last 2 years, and this new field of playing, because the screenshots were a new field of playing, help to give a significance, to give importance to the emotions that we all were living.
Thank you for that. And now I would like to move to Tripura to just give us her understanding. But I want to add in a little something there, even as you explain to us your encountering of the interconnection between dance and health. I want you to also kind of weigh in on how that was used, dance conditioning itself was used as sort of a source of resilience, a source of strength, and just this powerful thing that a lot of people were able to connect with. We saw sort of a new phenomenon in a way that we had never seen before. So if you could take the conversation there, I'd love that so much.
You're talking to Monica or me?
I'm talking to Tripura, yes.
Okay, all right. So when, the pandemic came and of course everything went online, it was a bit of a surreal situation that we had to address mental health issues of a lot of people who are going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of uncertainty, and we had to suddenly move online. And there was one particular group that I remember working with which was the special needs children, because health of as well as the siblings, so that the interpersonal relationship between the members of a family would also improve. And for me, that was really about dance and health. It was looking at maybe the body coordination of the children, looking at maintaining the social skills within a family. We were also looking at using movement props, music, to just keep them. In fact, children from Africa, children from Asia, children from Australia, Singapore, different countries coming together where they could actually connect with each other and learn to kind of create movement rituals on a daily basis that they could do. So it was not just the sessions, but it was also a follow-up where every day they would practice their movement rituals. And many of them came back saying, we feel so much better in our mind. We feel so much more in touch with happiness. Yeah. So we, in fact, wanted to call it the happiness program, the happiness for health program. So that was one part of Dance for Health that we did. And we also looked at movement for movement's sake. Nothing to do with therapy, but just to be able to move and to feel your body kind of, get out of its stuckness. Because thanks to the pandemic and thanks to the smartphones, most of our movement is getting shrunk to the tips of our fingers, right? And so movement has become so limited, and people, and we were all born with movement, right? That's what we did in our mother's womb. And more we felt like people were getting out of touch with their bodies, they're getting disassociated from their bodies. And this is the reason why we felt that dance was so important for health. And I watched also Jerusalem, the video that went viral, and to see people from all over the world coming together and interpreting the same movement phrase in a variety of different ways from different cultures. That was so beautiful to see. It's like how dance and movement is our universal mother tongue, and we can all speak it. It doesn't matter. It cuts across cultural divides. It cuts across urban-rural divides. And I feel that was such a powerful thing to happen. And I'm even wondering if it could have happened without the pandemic and without the online work that's going on. Yeah. So that was really powerful what I saw.
The Jerusalem, because we saw sort of like a sweep across popular mediums just covering this, from the media to just ordinary people following the hashtag Jerusalem dance, and just a lot of this vibrance, and around, I think it was June 2020, we saw a lot of these articles pop up, but the people that were interacted with, when asked why they were reacting to this so strongly, most of them were saying that dance connected to their minds, body, and soul, and just resonated with the global community in such a powerful way. And I want Peter to weigh in here. Why do you think that we saw that? And in the context of the pandemic, obviously, a lot of people were restricted and they could not move from their homes or access any green spaces or any other outlets that they were, usually exposed to. But this wasn't the first time that they were encountering dance. So what is it about this pandemic that just sparked this sort of movement, if I may put it that way?
So, thank you. Disease is disorder. So it gives you a bit of order. It's an accent down, it's a downbeat. So when you have a downbeat, you are then free in time. It's not a question of doing something at a time, you're free, and you'll see they have down, down, and they can move a little bit, and they're doing one joint, one hip, one, so there's isolation, and it goes downbeat, downbeat, and everyone shares a downbeat. And the upbeat is how free can you be in time? And this notion of freedom is what we all lost. So this dance, which we saw, all these, and they kept, you notice they kept putting in the films I was watching, the 30-minute version, 27 million views. A lot of police, a lot of nurses, a lot of people in uniforms. It's like the people in the forces of order really like this. Because within that order, they still have their freedom, and they needed that. And of course, everything was on their shoulders. I mean, it's been challenging for everybody, but I think it's interesting to see that downbeat of the Jerusalem allows for a great expression of freedom, which crossed so many cultures. So I'll hand over to my other colleagues.
Peter, and I want to go back to Monica and just talk about some of the non-verbal aspects of dance that can be leveraged when it comes to healing and when it comes to supporting health. We talk about dance, and there's such an excitement around how dance can support health. But for purposes of people that are not from the global health community or are not health enthusiasts and have taken so much time to understand, can you just break that down a little bit even more? I appreciate where Peter took us. I want us to go even farther and just break that down for us, because it's fascinating that there can even be a relationship between these two things. Dance has been around us for years and centuries, and for most people, it's only now that we're starting to understand the entirety of its power.
Yes, I would like to put together two messages that Tripura and Peter were talking about. The first one is that dance is a global mother tongue, and the other idea is the non-verbal and the need to be tuned and to be in a rhythm. So these two aspects, as mother tongue and the need of rhythm, are really connected with the body. Not only our body of human beings, but the body of animals, of trees, of the sun, of the universe. So we need rhythm. We are all connected in a rhythm, and the rhythm is breathing. So open and close, and we need it. So we all were closed and stopped. And we needed to do something, and we had all in common one rhythm still going on, and it was our heart rhythm. So that was something that we had already, and we needed to open it again. So and we used this. This first possibility that human beings have to create a community and to talk together. So we are talking with a non-verbal tongue. So that is really the power that I think we all discover. So we needed to see the others moving. We were all stuck at home. We had this great possibility to be connected with these little windows on the screen, and we started to see each other from all over the world, and what could we do? Just doing that or that, calm down, come back, and you see, you start laughing. So it's something that we all have in common. So moving, giving, offering a rhythm is something that it's really natural for all of us. And pandemic helped our community, our dancing community, to spread this message. We move, we feel good. And I think that in this specific case of pandemic, there is really a very, very little difference between dance and dance therapy, because I think that dancing was the way to cope with an emergency after an earthquake or in other very big crises. You are very basic. So you don't need to differentiate between dance or dance therapy. You need to do something to face the emergency. And so that was dancing. Thank you.
Exploring that a little bit more, Sioni, I want to understand from your perspective, interacting with this as a dancer, a professional dancer at that, the pandemic meant that we were not able to go to these open spaces, dance with other people, and have that kind of movement and that freedom to express ourselves. for you as an artist, many of the artists that I've spoken to before were talking about how they were able to go through this particular pandemic and how they interacted with the limitations that came to their crafts because of this pandemic. What was your experience like? Were you still able to participate in dance? Was it taken away from you? And what did that mean for you?
Well, it's a story. Like for me, it's a story. The thing that happened, it's for me as an artist, these movement restrictions to close everything, to close the space where we can go dancing. It's like for me, it's been like something which has been give me like a trauma. You see, how am I going to live? How am I going to do dancing? Because as an artist, we need a space. We need the way we can go to express ourselves. So, and the time that they closed, we were like, what's going to happen? You see, it was difficult to me. And from my experience, the pandemic started when my mom, she was abroad, and my dad, he was sick, and he underwent the surgery, and I was like, what's going to happen? Wow. I need to be in charge of this thing, to be in charge of family, you see. It wasn't easier. So for me as an artist, it's affected me for mentally and physically as well. And also, let me back to financial crisis. Like,
yes, absolutely.
I will give an example. Here in Rwanda, so an artist, they like we doesn't paid per month. It's like it must be like a project or workshop or
Yes.
Or production. So that's why we get paid. And so they closed everything because they didn't want the COVID to be spreaded, and
Yes.
they closed the place where we can go to find the money, to the place where we can go to release what we think, you see. And it's really affected me as an artist. It was not easy. It was not like something which I've been experienced before. And also it affected my physical body.
Yes.
Like, because as a dancer, we know that dancer, like, we have to be free. I need to move my body in the way that I want.
You need to practice.
I
and
need to
keep sharpening
practice,
your
you see.
Yes, yes.
And not that only, like, and also I need to meet with the dancers community, because that's the place where, like, I get inspiration. That's the place where, like, I get an ideas if we meet together, you see. And so it's also affected my mentally and physically and emotionally. You see, it wasn't easy.
And how are you doing now?
Now I'm good. So in a pandemic, I also learned how can I express myself.
Yes.
Because for me, I needed hug. I need someone to hug. You see. So I started like thinking, how am I going to do this, and how am I going to escape this thing? And like I find myself, but like putting something, like I take in my room, I clean my room, and I take something out, and I started dancing. So the way now I'm feeling is like also this pandemic give me an exercise, like to think like twice, to think like this is not only the thing that you have to do. It's give me time also to think and to find another solutions. And so now how I feel, I'm feeling good, even though like we're still in that situation, but not like before. Yeah, so now I'm feeling like now I'm here because the thing is open. Like now I'm with the people, you see. Even though we can't come and hug, but I can see you, I can like, you can smile for me, I can see your smile. So now I feel like, yeah, I'm good.
The power of human connection.
Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to come to Tripura. Yes. Let's get into dance therapy a little bit more. What are some of those health conditions that we encounter that you think dance therapy can be able to support and help with?
I began my dance therapy career. I was an Indian classical dancer, and I began my dance therapy career because I had a brother on a wheelchair with cerebral palsy, and he used to love music. And whenever he heard music, he would start, twisting and turning in his wheelchair, almost sliding down, and get really excited. And that's how I, as a dancer, figured that this is what I want to do. I want to take dance to people with special needs who don't have access to movement. And so that's how I started. And I work a lot with children with special needs, as well as teachers and special educators without any special needs, just neurotypical population. And I think it's a misnomer that dance therapy is only for people with special needs. It's not. It's for everyone. Even for example, in India, we have thousands and thousands of dance forms, and yet the ordinary people are so scared of the word. Yeah, so whenever teachers walk into my workshop, they say something like, we have two left feet, we cannot dance, just show us the movement and we'll do it with our children. So people are mortified by the word dance. And so I kind of developed 5 stages to ease people into movement. The first stage is called movement seeding, where I help people discover what is the personal movement language in their bodies, and they have fun with movement. And the second stage is movement development, right, where they develop movement in their bodies, they build on it. And the third stage is movement expression, where they begin to express their emotions, their thoughts, and their feelings through movement. The fourth stage is resolution, where you resolve a problem that you have through movement. And the fifth stage is integration. So whatever you learn in a session, in a microcosm, you take it back into the real world. So if you're learning to be confident in a session, you take it back into your real life. So in a way, we're looking at different health conditions through these 5 stages. And of course, you can work with children who are 1 year old to elderly people in retirement homes. That's the kind of age groups that you can work with adolescents, with children, with adults, with the elderly. And you can also work with different kinds of people with hearing impairment, visual impairment, children with mental challenges, de-addiction centers, treatment centers. So it's a very eclectic, it's a very versatile discipline that we can use almost in every nook and corner of India and the world. Yeah, so I hope I answered your question.
A key word in there was personal. When you came up with this particular program, was it designed to be tailored to particular needs or to an individual situation? Or is this a program that can apply across the board? You say children and the elderly and all kinds of people. Is it when you meet the person, then you tailor this program to them? Or is this something that can help everybody and anybody?
Yeah, so what we do is we have a movement activity basket in which we have therapeutic heads like body coordination, eye contact, social skills. Like this, we have 45 therapeutic heads, and under each head, we have 4 or 5 activities. So this is generic, this activity basket. You can use it with any population, but you can also, when you go to a particular population, say the visually impaired, you got to understand what is their need and their issue. So people with visual impairment are very scared of the space around them. So their bodies are very tight, very rigid, and it's a huge challenge for them to move fast across space. Yeah, so we choose movement activities that will specifically help them. We kind of customize a dance session to their need and issue. So we do something called a movement evaluation and assessment with each population that we work, and according to that, we choose activities from this basket that we can use with them. Yeah, so you can work with different population in different ways, in ways that they require, rather than what you know.
Thank you. Thank you for taking us through how that actually works. I want to go to Peter. Peter, if you can help us unpack some of the biggest lessons you think that this pandemic has brought to life for you in terms of dance and how dance can be leveraged. And just to provide a little bit more context for why I'm asking this, the pandemic really for many people, again, and has been claimed, we see that it sparks sort of a mental health crisis, right? So dance and hearing the psychological aspects of how that can impact one, it makes me wonder what some of the lessons are, the profound lessons that we could carry on, and even as we see this pandemic continue to unravel and unveil itself, if you could take us through what your realizations have been.
Thank you. You know that we all know that the definition of dance by the World Health Organization is physical, mental, and social well-being, and not the lack of a pathology. So, and I deal a lot with dance medicine, and you know, we took a long time to the physical medicine. We have acute and chronic injuries, and that problems. That's we understand that, and then we've started to get understanding of mental health. In many countries, it's been becoming much less taboo. But the idea of social health has really been forgotten. And I think what the biggest lesson for me is the importance of social health is so essential from the pandemic. People have understood we need social cohesion, we need social interaction, and dance is a social act. We don't dance alone. I mean, even if we're doing on the internet, we're still dancing with someone else. It's a social form. And so the importance for social health and well-being, I think we've totally forgotten this. I mean, why do we have theaters? You know, we don't, you look in Paris, the Paris Opera, it's the greatest building in the city. Why? Because without social and cultural well-being, people revolt, people die. Dance, I think it is brought out that we need social interaction for social health, and social health has been a forgotten element of society for long. And you mentioned before that people say dance and they just get horrified instead of celebrating, because it means social interaction and accepting that social well-being and health is a part of a global health initiative, which is why I'm so excited to be a part of the Hamwe Festival, because it's a global aspect to health. I hope that question.
That definitely answered my question, and I want to ask the same question to Monica. And as our time comes to, you know, it's closing in to the end of this particular session, the take homes are very key. We have been seeing such a huge desire for movement, for activity, to leverage things like dance. And again, with the restrictions still going on for some parts of the world, and the lockdowns, and the uncertainty around whether or not there's going to be a lockdown tomorrow for any of the countries, really. Can you just talk to us about your own observations and your own lessons that you think can be leveraged even as this entire situation continues to reveal itself?
Yes, I agree with Peter about the social health and the social need of being a community. And so what from my experience is that the pandemic and the way of dancing during the pandemic gave us back something that we have lost, and it is the ritual. So a community is dancing because is going through a ritual, and so that was possible for the community to cope with this big new issue through a ritual. And so that's very important, to go back to our roots. Thank you.
And Sioni, if you could just talk to us about what you've observed just here back home, the relationship with dance. This is something you say, high school, you say, I want to be a professional dancer. You talk about the absence of dance for you from a personal experience. You talk about how that affected you, not being able to have that. But I want to talk about the community relating with dance. What has been your observation from the onset? Let's first step away from the pandemic. We'll come back to the pandemic. How do you feel Rwandans relate with dance?
For me first, I would say, like, I will give an example. I'd like to go with examples. So we know, like, what happened in Rwanda in 1984, genocide against Tutsis. For me, to dancing, first it was like I'm post-genocide, but I have affected with the genocide. So as my body moving, as my dancer, what am I have to do to this community? What am I have to do to these people? What's my contribution that I can give to these people? And I found that dancing is not just about me, it's about community. It's go like a way of me, and I go in someone's shoes. It doesn't give me like I want to express myself or like how am I feeling, but it's also like how people feel. We have an organization called Quest to the Cure. It's an event we do in our commemoration, where we discussed and we performed theater and dancing, like what was genocide affected to us as a youth. You see, as the question asked, like how does it dancing involved in different people? You see, like it's not about me, only me. It's just people to feel someone. It's give like a humanity to go in someone's shoes. It's not just me, because as they say, like it's a social. It's not about me, only me. It's a social, how we know how we can engage or how can help others, you see. And yes, that's it.
Yeah, and what has the reaction been like in terms of digitizing dance, for example? Because before, we used to have the theaters open. People would come. You talked about being able to hug, being able to feel people around you. Dance is so much about movement, but it is also about being able to feel, according to what you say. What was that like? Because we saw some of the festivals like Ubumunu being digitized, and these performances not being what they used to be. How do you feel Rwandans reacted to that? Did it still carry the same impact?
Yes, it has an impact, because me also, like I used to organize some classes online. It's like I didn't say that I'm gonna quit dancing.
Yes.
But I also organized some classes, and as you said, like Masharikas, they organized Womono Festival, and I was in the part of that.
Yes, you were one of the performers.
Yeah, I was in the performance, and when it's become to me, like for me, I didn't say that I'm gonna quit dancing. Yes, I have this thinking, I have this trauma, but also like I was thinking, yes, even though I have this thing, like how can I be someone else? Because that's what dancing gives to me. Like dancing doesn't give me like what am I expressing, but what dance can give me, like inside of me, like an inner thought. And like, yes, as you said, the studio was closed and the gyms or where like we used to gather together. But for me, I also organized some classes where we would meet with a colleague and discuss some of the issues, and also that helped.
Thank you for that. Earlier on, a story about a loved one and how they reacted to dance inspired Tripoli's work. I want to come to you, Monica, and just kind of dig in and understand better. You could have done anything. You could have chosen any profession. Why this particular one? What are some of the enabling factors for you to get to this place and pursue this particular path?
I choose dance movement therapy because my life is dancing. I really cannot imagine living without moving and without dancing. So that's why that was something that I didn't choose. It was the profession that chose me.
Beautifully said. And what was your experience like? Because for somebody like you who says dancing chose me, you talk about it with such passion, and the pandemic happened to you just as much as it happened to everybody. How was that experience like for you? My brother here talks about not being able to get on the stage and dance and interact with other dancers. For you, what was your experience like in terms of the pandemic, the restriction, not being able to do the things that you were doing before? Was dance a place of solace for you? Was it an outlet in any way? How did you relate with it during this difficult time that we all experienced?
Yeah, I was at home in my 4 meters of my living room, and I was thinking it's not possible that we are not moving. So I can just turn around the room, and I have to move. So I have to do something new, and so I decided to open this. Maybe it was also something very egoistic, because I needed to move and I didn't want to move alone. So that's I decided to open, to say, oh, let's see if it's possible to practice the DMTs, to practice my profession, and in a different way. And because I don't want not to be free, I don't want to be locked and stuffed, and so that's why I try to. I couldn't stay still.
Thank you for that. I want to thank our panelists so much for contributing and sharing your knowledge. We have about just 5 minutes, and I want to open the floor and just engage our audience in the room. If anybody has a question or an observation, any contribution you might have in regards to Dance for Health. Do we have? Okay, so I see a hand over there. I'm going to invite you to please come over, and we can hear. Okay, so we have a microphone for you over there. If you could. Perfect. Yes, if you could tell us who you are and then who you want to direct the question to, and go ahead and ask the question.
Thanks so much. My name is Nadia Fazal. I'm a recent PhD graduate, and most of my research focused largely on global health and the arts. Thank you to each of the panelists. This was a very, very interesting discussion today. My question centers largely around the idea of narratives and storytelling through the arts. So we've spoken a lot about the individual level and the movement and the embodiment of, all sorts of things through the arts, and about social and mental and emotional health as well as physical. Yes, I was wondering if the panelists could speak a little bit to the idea of storytelling and narrative shifting, sort of at the community level more than the individual level. I think this idea of community health and societal health, what role does dance have to play there? I know that's a really large question, but I'd like to open up to the panelists.
Thank you so much. Does anybody want to take this question? Peter, I feel like you've been quiet for a little bit there. Do you want to take this one?
Okay. Storytelling, dance is very ancient. It's pre-Islamic, and it's in the Islamic world we still find a lot of dancing, even if it's not. It's very deep. So the storytelling from generations, I would say, is the first one. Is how different generations, from grandparents, great-grandparents to the first generation, the children, can be transmitted, which is often just a much better connection than with the parents. So I would say that the storytelling between generations of history, of how we perceive things is very important. And in communities which have dance, which allow dance, and maybe you don't see it outside, but it's in the walls of the house. It's a way of communicating with this nonverbal communication, which is so great. I mean, you can dance with your face, you can dance with a smile, you can dance with your eyes. they say the eyes are the palace of the soul, of the body. So we can dance with many ways, and have to think of the mirror neurons can pick up all kinds of activities, and just educating. It is body language. It is body language with rhythm. I hope that answers a bit of the question.
Thank you. Do we have any other person with a question? We still have about 2 minutes. Okay, I see a hand over there. If you could join us on the stage, please. Awesome. Your names and the question, plus maybe the person you would want to direct it to.
Thank you. My name is Muhammad. Just for my friend here, I think I heard about him saying a lot of constraints and challenges around dancing and movement during COVID-19, especially in Rwanda. So the question for me was like, then as an artist like him, who's professional, we had some other examples around digitalization of some concerts like Mashirika, what they did. So, and then in terms of linking the same to communities and probably with other vulnerable peoples, how does that reflect in terms of giving out the message? So does the message really sound like the same when it is like the physical, something like that? That's what I wanted to maybe for like a kind of experience in terms of the feedback probably you got through those kind of experiences. Thank you.
A really good question there. Thank you
So much. I can say that the movement, like, it didn't be the same. It won't be the same. And as I said, like, before COVID, like, we had a space where you can go express ourselves and where you can go to practice. But during COVID, all the place was closed, and I was like, who am I have to blame? Do I have to blame the people who are responsibility to give the vaccine? Do I have to blame the government who are giving this instruction? You see, so as an artist, for me, the thing that happened to me, it's I said, like, I also open my mind. It's also give me to open my mind and to think big and to go beyond out of the box, you see. And it's give me time to reflect and to also think how I can also, like, if we stay in this lockdown, how can we live? How can we just express ourselves? So it's also give me like this kind of thinking to also thinking about myself, not only to say that are we just waiting for Mashirika or Amizero to be performed, but also to give me the thinking like I can also now do my own project and do different things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. That's all the time we had for this panel. So I want to take a moment and say thank you to our panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and your story with us.